Here's the old library. That's the old sixth form block. The old gym. The new block, which isn't looking so new now. There's the music block. It's my old form class. No.
Trying to keep away from these two rooms, to be honest, because I have my physics lesson. I'm just like avoiding them as best I can.
Oh, brilliant. The old lockers are still here as well.
Oh yes, they definitely haven't changed. So through here we've done. It's one of the new computer rooms we have.
Very nice.
So and we've got the interactive whiteboards as well. It's like, I think this was one of the first computer rooms to be refurbished.
You've still got the old language labs upstairs?
Yeah, we do. I'm not sure if they'll be open.
All right.
If you want to
Yeah, have a pop up there, yeah.
So how long did you stay on for?
I was only here for 5 years.
Bench.
Yeah. 1987 I left.
Oh, okay. I wasn't even around.
Cheers. That's just great, this. Toilets there. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's my old classroom.
The last toilets we have in the school.
Someone nearly threw me through that window, I think. Was it that one or that one? Yeah. Threw me against it and smashed it. Lovely. These are the language labs, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was the posh one. Oh no. Yeah, they had all desks like those computer things with these old headphones and stuff.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah. I don't believe they've still got those lockers.
I think year after year they complain about them. Try and get new ones put in, but that never really happens.
They got character, the old ones, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's one of the other old form classes as well. Look at this. I was a sub-prefect, so I used to patrol the top of the stairs up there lunchtime.
We just have a prefect system now. I mean, the head boy would come around and
Yeah.
mark you in.
Yeah.
Mr. Holly is ended up doing that now. Being redone. And I think ICT one is being redone as well. So even the new computer room we saw downstairs.
Yeah.
It's getting on a bit now, so trying to get some new ones.
Is that gym still open? Looks a bit decrepit now, doesn't it?
It does from the outside, it's still.
Yeah, it's still there.
I think there's timeline history in the business
Is it?
block just here.
That's the old library.
You passed the new library.
Oh, on the way in, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty good.
So you've been here since first year, have you?
Yeah, first
Yeah.
year. So
Excellent.
I can't really work out when that is. So what, 2000?
Yeah. Is that still the sixth one?
Yeah, that's 600.
Excellent.
Business like that.
Lectures in 1 till 3.
Predominantly used by sixth forms.
Yeah.
That's where we do all of our exams, which is great.
I'll come back here later, actually. Yeah.
Well, Nigel's speaking first, Nigel Clarkson. 2:13 and the kids.
Is there anyone you particularly want to see?
Yeah. all this, all that stuff
Yeah.
over there. Yeah. Is that the music block still? Is
Yeah,
it?
it's music. Where's that? Thanks very much, sir.
Cheers. Steve, by the way.
Pardon?
Steve.
I'm Ben.
Videos on YouTube if you wanted to have a look. One of my faithful students, really good. And on MySpace as well, apparently. Oh, is it? Okay, I thought I'd tell you this.
So obviously we've done the best to try and display some just changes and
Yeah.
stuff so you can...
I'll pop over here later as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, so they're there now, aren't they? Oh, great, okay, I'm very jealous. Yeah, they're fine so far, I think they're still moving in.
How many have we got for today? Do you know?
Fun?
How many have we got? A couple hundred, isn't it?
Yeah, I think few estimates, like 250.
Yeah.
Another computer is refurbished. There's some more than that. This is it's like from this line, it's pretty much an extension. So we should go up. We've got Irene first
All right.
and another English one.
Cool.
And below us there's they've got 2 new computer rooms as well.
All right. So is this a specialist school? Is it?
Yeah,
For
it's
sport?
Specialist in business. It's
Oh, business. All right.
Business.
Business and sport.
Business and enterprise.
Oh, okay.
And we have a sports mark goal.
Right.
And we've been able to achieve that for the last, I think it's close to 7 years.
Yeah. What does that mean then? That sports thing?
It basically distinguishes, it's a national kind of rating almost.
Yeah. All right.
And certificate just distinguishes us as a sporting excellence.
Excellent.
Year 19, I think, just went to win the national cup last year.
Yeah. What was that in?
So it's just a national cup, so football.
Football.
And so they would have competed against 300
Yeah.
different
Brilliant.
schools. Oh, obviously you play or so yeah, knockout. This is the art exhibition. I'm not sure whether you want to come here later.
I'll come here later. Yeah. It's all right.
You've got history, which everything is open. Art, which is yes.
Just metalwork, is it?
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's just woodwork. Woodwork is just on your right.
Hasn't changed a bit.
I mean, the workshop that you just saw outside.
Yeah.
It's a metal workshop.
There's still got a
Just
big
there.
furnace here.
Oh yeah, it's all just.
Can't get in there.
Back.
No. All right. Excellent.
And there's a new computer room on the other side of that door.
All right.
And adjacent to that is
Yeah.
graphics room.
Yeah.
I think it just ranges from GCSE. Pretty old actually. So, does it seem much different from your own?
No, I'm surprised all the old stuff's stayed, you know. Oh, is that pottery over there? Isn't it?
That's,
Art.
art,
Yeah.
that'll be locked as well. I mean, if you want to see the new graphics, you can walk around and there's big.
All right.
Play
Yeah.
with it. I think somewhere further down in the plans for like redesigning the school. 2011.
All right.
We planned to build another school on the bottom field,
Yeah.
just flatten this one.
Do they?
This one will become all playing fields.
It's a shame, isn't it? So how long's Mr. Quine been the headmaster then?
He was headmaster in my second year.
Who was it before then?
It was Mr. Groove.
Mr. Groove. Oh, right, he was headmaster when I was here.
He was good. He was missing.
Is he retired then, is he?
Yeah, he retired
Right.
the year we. Yeah, they had this. They started in the transition. And
Yeah.
I mean, if we were
Yeah, Mr. Quine was teaching it when I was here as well, so he's been here forever. Yeah, that's right.
I never quite understood why he. He would come up and like in our lessons, he'd be like, "Oh, how do you do it?"
Who's that, Mr. Groove?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Quine.
All right, yeah.
He would whip out a lot of jobs, you know. And we're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
obviously, it was only a few years later.
Yeah.
We were told.
That's it, that's what you want, isn't it? Nice friendly headmaster.
He's really good. I mean, he's given me the opportunity to redesign the school prospectus.
Yeah? Excellent.
My last graphics project was rebranding and redeveloping the school.
Yeah.
The model on the left wall
Yeah.
was mine. And I did a prospectus as well. So from that he's like, well, do you want to take that further and produce it?
Yeah?
I'm doing it. Get up,
It's really
get
good.
up.
Good stuff.
Okay.
What are these then?
These are the new, they've always been there when
Yeah, they weren't here when I was here.
cookery.
Oh, right.
Food making.
Ah.
These are some extra mass blocks. And that's the Smoker's Corner.
Yeah, Smoker's Corner when I was here was right down the bottom of the field.
Alright. They're too lazy now. They've gradually got closer and closer since I've been there.
Yeah.
Year 7 they started over the tree and then they go to the back and then they're just next to the building. So I think we've done like for loop, we've got sports on the shore.
Is that a swimming pool still here?
Oh, yes.
The big indoor
The
thing?
greenhouse.
Yeah. Yeah, that was new when I was here.
It's causing a bit of a problem with I mentioned the new design.
Yeah.
No one wants to claim ownership.
Of what? The swimming pool?
Yeah. So, because when we go to schools, it's a safety hazard.
Right.
The council aren't going up to it either because they haven't been giving the school money to
Right.
maintain it.
Ah.
So they would have to pay the school back. Plus the cost of getting rid of it as well.
What's that? Is that changing rooms?
Yeah, well this is the, what is it, the gym.
Yeah. Oh, that's the new gym, is it? Ah, yeah.
Sorry, well, weight room.
The exam hall there.
Exam mode.
All right.
Were you into the sports?
No, not really. No, shame really. I really regret not being into sports much. I got into it later in life. I'm a bit too old now to enjoy it so much. Is that it then?
Yeah.
Swimming pool. Is it still used?
Yeah, still used.
Yeah.
Only.
Danger, keep out.
Yeah, they had a problem for a while with gypsies just coming along.
Really?
Used it for baths. So,
It's not open now then, no?
no. Just make sure it's like locked all the time.
Bloody hell. Spikes on the thing as well.
They knew. They've always been there when I.
Oh, right.
So I didn't really know. Any
can't remember. Maybe.
So it's not sure to see?
Yeah, the old gym.
The old
Is that?
gym.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that on the outside, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that it's teachers and students
Yeah.
playing there? Was that teacher there?
Mr. Norris.
Yeah, I remember him. Oh, and that's the main
Yeah.
hall, isn't it? Yeah.
It's going to be a presentation.
Locked?
That's
Oh, shame. That's about it then, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Nice one. Cheers, mate.
It's alright.
See you later.
Have a nice
Thanks,
day.
and you. The Windsor Stairs.
He's gone underground. He's vegetarian. Forest, but of Woodley Hill House and the Tennyson School as well. And I think that's quite a remarkable gathering over something like 50, it's a little bit more than 50 years of history, but you are indeed most welcome. And I think it's also particularly delightful to see the wives of some of the old boys here at the school with their partners. I'm not quite sure what you thought you might be expecting today, but I hope we haven't disappointed you so far. One or two children in the audience, you are most welcome as well, and we will try to keep you amused all afternoon. Inevitably, I'm Nigel Carter, I'm the chairman of governors. I've been a governor at the school for 5.5 years now. And I actually feel a bit of an imposter looking at some of the individuals around this afternoon. I've got a little green badge, a little green disc on my badge that indicates I was here very briefly in the 1960s. There are one or two people around here with stars and discs on their badges that suggest more a history as a Third World General than a member of the teaching staff and former pupils of the school. Stand up, David Supper, if these are I think the critical thing for me was that I came to the school at a moment 6 years ago, just about, when the school had initiated a bid to become a business and enterprise college. And it was quite remarkable at that particular moment to be caught up as one of the very first events I attended, an extremely successful charity dinner at Ascot Racecourse. My predecessor was very well connected, and among the dignitaries we had Clive Woodward, who was then in the ascendancy as the England coach, rugby coach that is to say, and we also had not Michael Redgrave, he's the actor, but the oarsman Redgrave, Steve, thank you very much indeed, came along as well to support the proceedings. We had to find as a school £50,000 in order to submit our bid as a business and enterprise college. And we were astonishingly successful in finding, I think, something over £20,000 from that event alone, which was supported by Old Boys, which was supported by industry from the area as well. And we were also given a substantial sum of money by the Parent Teachers Association. And that kind of gives you a flavour, I think, of the spirit which surrounds the school, very much present, and certainly in the years in which I've been involved as a governor. And you're very much here today because we wish, as we are developing the business and enterprise theme, we are having to reach out into the community in many different ways. And to do that,
students, former colleagues, present colleagues, and of course representatives of the current governing body as well. It does seem fitting to me that in our 50th year that we actually have a former student of the school, Nigel, as our chair of governance. In recent decades, it's very much been the province of parents. So there's a certain symmetry, it seems. Well, around about 250 of us have come together this afternoon. We had in common some tie to the Forest School. A somewhat battered in its 50th year, one has to say. Somewhat battered and yet magnificent school, the Forest. There's over 30,000 secondary schools in England. This is ours. What makes it special? It's certainly not the buildings. It's got to be the people. It's got to be the teachers. It's got to be the support colleagues. It's got to be, above all else, the boys and their parents. Because behind each of you, young men as it were, today, there was your mum, there was your dad, there were influences on your life, and they share the history that exists in Forest School. As Nigel says, there's only ever been 4 head teachers of the Forest School, and I'm delighted to sit here in the front row as Mrs. Jackson, widow of Walter Jackson, all of who are known, particularly from Joe Hollier in his talk about the last 50 years. Very much indeed.
Going on. Dark days of the war. And yes, that's the slide that's wrong. It should say 1939. I've just found a Braithian historian uncovering these things. Under threat of German bombing, a very privileged and a very highly successful grammar school, Archbishop Tennyson's School, was evacuated from Kennington Oval. It's still there, actually, Kennington Oval. You see it when you watch cricket matches. And they were sent up to Woodley. And there, a big property developer called Ben Clark offered South Lake House as a school for the students. It wasn't a school originally. And he also offered a place that he owned called Woodley Hill House as dormitories for those students. Some 269 boys came from London, and they spent the next 4 years here. And indeed, the magazines there, the Tennysonians, 6 of them I have now, tell of it's quite tragic actually. You get the stories of boys achieving their grades and going on, but also vast number of stories of staff being called up, volunteering, and of those same boys going off to war. And then by the end, 1945, the pages are filled with lost, missing in action, or death obituaries. They make quite stunning reading actually. For our purpose though, over those 4 years, 27 local Berkshire boys joined South Lake School, Archbishop Tennyson's. And those 27 Berkshire boys were left stranded in 1945 when the Tennyson boys returned. Their buildings had, by the way, been bombed. They had a direct hit from a V-1 rocket, Gulag. But these boys back in Berkshire had nowhere to go. And in 1945 they were 27, and the county had no that field. But there's a big problem. No one knew what to call the school. And the staff minutes, I've got the handbook that they're all handwritten in, show huge debates going on about whether they're going to end up calling this new school the Royal County of Berkshire Grammar School, which was their preference, the Duke of Edinburgh's Grammar School, which was second choice, third choice, Winnersh Grammar School, and nowhere is it mentioned Forest Grammar School. And Richard Brighton, one of the ex-Woodley Hill boys and indeed an ex-governor here, told me that before it opened in February 1957, hundreds of boys paraded around the streets of Winnersh with placards saying, "No, we don't want the name Forest School." No one has told me how they ended up with that name. I have got a silver cup, and it's engraved from the architects of this building, Howard Love and Partners. I've got a cup engraved to Winnersh Grammar School. So even before, even once it's finished, they thought it was going to be called Winnersh Grammar School and not Forest. And I love that mystery piece song. Just get this moved on. There we go. Anyway, it does end up as the Forest Grammar School. It changes its name a few times. In fact, in 1974 it becomes the Forest School. The Dulwich, for some reason. I have no idea why. And obviously it's got this is an enterprise college status nowadays. But the main part of the building has not changed that much. If you look at these old slides from 1957, This one, November 1957, you've got the flagpole, which has disappeared. I've got the flag, and that's over there. And of course, this is the building now. And if anything, the harsh lines have disappeared because we've got more shrubbery. And yes, if you look closely, it's far more beaten up. But the main bulk of this corridor has not changed. Nevertheless, when it opened, it was built for 540 students, 1957. By 1959, they'd already exceeded that, and the story of the buildings are very much about additional buildings, because by the 70s it's reached 1,000. The first building they added to the school, though, was not a physical structure on the outside, but rather, this is the first ever Summer Fete 1958, rather to build a swimming pool. And we've still got the swimming pool, and I think it's caused us trouble. They've raised money for 3 years, it's going to cost £5,500, and by 1961 it's opened to huge acclaim, not covered for many years after that. These aerial photographs show also how the school changed, so quickly go through them. You can see this is just one over here. This is where we are, that's the hall. Behind us is the gym. There's obviously no sports hall behind that. This is about 1962, I'm guessing. It's repaired, and that's your main block with the science labs. Nothing going along the railway track other than 2 separate playing grounds for junior and senior boys. You won't let them mix back then. And no new block or no enterprise hub, no library or anything like that. No St Mary's Church. That's not built until 1965. It's Jack Piercy, his second headmaster, who's largely responsible for the expansion of the school and the building of the structures. So those of you here in the 1970s will be able to spot, we've got sixth form block built in 1973, the new block, still called the new block, in 1976. Lots of terrapins, still no drama studio, that's 1980. The new, yes, staff room, actually built, which is all apart, because the staff room used to be in the headmaster's office. And they're fascinating, actually. There's 4 of those photographs over in the display. Lessons at the new school, well, some of it was very much the same, actually. These are photographs from November 1957, and so typical classroom. I certainly remember in the 70s going to a school like that. They had the inkwells. Somebody's been talking to me about Pete Fletcher, who was a deputy teacher here. Pete Fletcher apparently had the job every Monday of making sure that all the ink pots were filled. So he had a huge flagger of ink, and he would send out ink monitors to fill up the little pots on the desks. Oh, how times have changed. Maybe the boys might actually go writing if they had it on the desk. The gym, just behind us, that's not changed much. And of course, this hall itself. There were new lessons at the new school. Bizarrely, technology is new. I did mention that at the old school they didn't have any craft block. They didn't need it. They were going to create the clerks and the bankers. They didn't need practical skills at a grammar school. But they did build a specialised block here, one woodwork room, one metalwork room, and one art room, and that's the block which is now dominated by art. If you ever get a chance to go to the technology block, I think Mr. Ratcher has made sure that none of this has ever been thrown away. And I am really pleased that Keith has spotted that we have got Drummond with us. This is Drummond Hooper, instructional students in 1971, that photograph. And if you compare it with nowadays, I wasn't joking, this is taken 2 weeks ago. Virtually the same activities Mr. Ratchet put them through. Some elements of technology have changed, of course. There are all sorts of additional lessons. We have a very thriving food technology department, led by Linda Arnold. And, sorry, I was going to finish with that. And we also have some bizarre things that I'm not sure what they're called. Computer-aided design and 220-watt laser cutters, that's well remembered, to help out with technology. I'm, by the way, the senior management link for technology, and you can see how I like it. Art was offered in the old school. John Stamp first, and then for over 35 5 years, Colin Fulbrook, an immense man, made a huge impact on the school, and indeed, and I hope this Dave then took over Thursday and ran the department and led it to incredible success. They did add on pottery. This is from 1978, and I recognise Chili Byrne there, who stayed with us for many years as well. And pottery, art now is one of the most successful departments. If you do get a chance to look at the displays, it's really heartwarming to see the work that is produced. I'll give you a couple of other departments. Science. This is the Science Labs in 1957, and Alan Sobey, who was here in 1961, remembers distinctly taking these 9 bottles, he remembered exactly what was in those 9 bottles as well, and putting them out every morning. Now, that's what a science lab looks like. Don't let the kids anywhere near any chemicals. The 1970s generation, well, still have the chemicals, but certainly had a bit more hair. And unfortunately, our biology department is far too successful nowadays. Perhaps one of the biggest changes, of course, in all our lives, not just in school, has come in ICT. We were at the forefront, the Forest School were at the forefront of computers. This is the arrival in 1965, and notice by dates 1965 to 1966, that's how long it takes to arrive, 21 cabinets of that size, and a 1.5-ton power pack, or one computer which filled the whole of one of those rooms. Its name was the National Elliott NR405 computer, donated by Cross and Blackwell and their London offices, cost £200,000. This is the same price as the whole school, and it fills one whole classroom. It had 2,000 wires that they had to connect up, and it takes them 1 year to get the computer to work. The direction of Bill Valley there, and the problem with Nellie was that she was a bit of a white elephant. She kept breaking down, constantly broke down. And once Bill Daly leaves, goes off to Sandhurst School, no one knew how to run. So in 1971, a whole fleet of skips arrived and they threw the whole thing away. Other than the bits rescued by Dave Spooner from the skips, it actually great savings. So in the 1970s, you have computing taught this way. There's a little board there, and one computer was shared by the 4 local schools. It used to come round in a van. Shared. So, by 1980, we have an article with Tom Pomeroy there, Hewlett Packard computer, and this computer could memorize 4,000 words. And currently, we now have over 200 computers. I've gone around and added them up. And every teacher has a laptop, and a lot of lessons are taught through the use of these visual aids, so long as the things keep working. And that's probably been the biggest change in teaching, is the way in which teaching is taught. These are some slides of current events we've done through the business and enterprise and gifted and talented schemes running through the school. But it wasn't only about subjects, so I'll give you a quick run through. Drama. This great photograph, I'm staring at it, shows Dave Supper. David Supper, as Julius Caesar, 1973, I think, is last year at this school, was it, David?
No, I did one more.
Okay, and that I think is fantastic. David sent me that photograph, and I know, I always knew, although David was an art teacher here for 30 plus years, I knew that David had a love of drama, and it was great to be able to come across that article and the programme as well. If we move on in the 1970s, I won't be able to show all the plays by the way. Coming from Wokingham to school will know that none of that's changed. And one which I really loved, I found an article about boys writing to the Wokingham Times complaining about Jack Piercy, demanding that they cut their hair. I even found a petition signed by other boys in the sixth form saying, we disagree with this protest. So, I don't know which side you were on, but if you want to know who signed the petition to the head saying, please excuse them, their signatures are all there against the article. Hopefully, 30 years on, you can forgive them, because I think Jack Piercy persisted with having the hair cut. I'm going to sum up, and I'm going to sum up with just a few slides. At the end of kind of 5 months of research, I guess I've spent on this, it could have been only 2 months if the head would have let me just do this and nothing else, but 5 months. I guess I've come to the conclusion that I should have known at the start. Because it doesn't matter what the buildings are like and what the slide showed you about the buildings. It doesn't matter what opportunities are created. What matters are the people who make the buildings function and who create those opportunities. So there have only been 4 headmasters, and we owe a huge debt to each one of them. Walter Jackson, 1957 to 67, Jack Piercy, 68 to 81, the immense Stan Greer, who I grew up with, 82 to 2001, and indeed my current boss and guiding light, Keith White, 2002 onwards. To all of the staff, notice 1959, and again, if I had the time, I could tell you about these men, Dobson and Virgo, who wrote all of those jogging books that were used throughout all the schools. There is Arthur Dobbs still with us. Who's that?
Long.
I'm not allowed to say that. This is Arthur Hancock. In Fletcher, stories about Keith Fletcher. You do not mess with Mr. Fletcher. And of course, there's the Wagner. Now, I don't know who this chap is, so that's another of my gaps. And there, all right, I'll say the nickname, Granny Allison. Granny Allison. That's Colin Fulbrook. There, Angus Urquhart Jones, the music teacher. Oh, Angus Urquhart Jones, the stories about him. Yes, it is true, I will reveal to the 1960 generation, he did have a lot of interest in the secretary. And yes, they both left at exactly the same time. All men, and the school, of course, completely changed since that time. These are just some of the current ladies working for us. In fact, roughly half of the teaching staff and even more of the support staff are female, and we could not function without them. There have been other people who have made a huge impact on the school. I found a great caricature of John Hayes, working alongside Dennis Morris, deputy head. I had to put this one in because this swarthy, dark creature. And that's the current staff, but of course it's not all the current staff. Trying to get 130 plus people together, not possible, but that's a few of them who made the photo shoot. All of them have made a huge impact on everyone gathered here and the 11,000 who have passed through the doors. I'll leave you with just 2 of those staff though, 2 people who I think sum up what the Forest School is, who cover every year of the Forest School with their dedication and the time they spent with us. And finally, it's also about the students, whether they've been immensely successful in 1982 here, academically, whether they're immensely successful in sport, and these are the 2007 runners-up in the school cup, or whether it's the people who have supported them and the huge crowd that went along. All 10,000 of them, no matter whether they've gone on to be celebrities or, like myself, occupy a routine, demanding job. That's really the history of the Forest School. It's each and every one of you, and it's each and every person who's walked through those doors. Thank you.
I hope we've reminded you of some great memories. I hope we've maybe created 1 or 2 special memories for you just by coming together today. If you haven't had a chance to have a look at some of the originals which George talked about and the rich display of history over in our business enterprise hub, just so you remember it as the old library, but in fact we've had 3 libraries on the site. If some of you haven't had a chance to go across to see the aerial photograph display, which is absolutely fascinating in its own right, and Colin Wells, who's at the back of the room, has put that together for us today. And again, there's booklets about that that you can take away on the day. Again, the artwork and so on. As I said, a couple of minutes time, anybody who wants to join me at the front of the school, we will sort of unveil the plaque to Nigel there. But again, thank you one and all. We've mentioned a variety of individuals. Please don't feel left out if we haven't mentioned you. There's so many of you. It's been great for me to see at least two of the original tutor group that I took on in 1979 when I first came here. So there you go. Not to sit too far apart. Thank you. Thank you one and all. It's been put in by Nick Robbins, who's our current grounds maintenance guy, and some of you will remember Nick was actually a lad here in the 90s or 80s, I think?
80s, 75 to 82, early 80s, yeah.
Right. Nick himself sadly can't be here today. He's actually on holiday and he's just father of a new sort of daughter, so I said don't delay the holiday. But Nick's provided this tree, and we've got a plaque here. I'll actually read it out to you. In memory of Nigel Glynn Wright, 1955-2006, pupil, then teacher, director of sport at the Forest School for 30 years. Every single person today has made some contribution to the Forest School. Student, colleague, whatever. And I've lost count of the number of people who probably made an impact. Nigel, to me, embodies everything. When I first came to the Forest School, there wasn't a tradition of geography field trips, for instance. And Tom and I established that in sort of 1980. But the very first field trip I, as a geography teacher, ever organised, guess which teacher came along with me? It was Nigel. And that's what he did for 30 years. And, you know, there's Lee there now. Lee, number 2 within the sports department, and my guess is Lee, a large part, the fact you're a teacher, is down to Nigel. He made a difference to us. So this is a small recognition, something that's standing there and hopefully will stand there for many years to come. Whatever happens to the ageing lady that's behind us in terms of the Forest School, because I will not rest until, and there's a district councillor standing in front of me, sorry, borough councillor I should say now, Prue, I will keep lobbying for a new build for this school, hopefully before I sort of retire. But we will, whatever it is, this will stand for Nigel, and eventually we will build a substantial sports facility with the help of a load of people. I was remiss, before I find my final words with Nigel, to forget to say, Stan Grew phoned me just the other night. Those of you who kept in touch with Stan since he retired will know he's permanently on holiday, basically. At the last count, I think it's 13 to 14 holidays a year. I hadn't got a hope in hell of finding a date when he was in the country. We missed him, and he flew out yesterday, I think. He does send his regards, and hope that most of you got fond memories of him. Dennis Morris, however, long-time deputy to Stan, is here today, and those of you from the 80s and the 90s, make sure that you find Dennis at some point this afternoon. Anyway, Nigel, he was my friend, he was my colleague, he was a gifted teacher, he was a fantastic coach, and this is in memory. Thank you very much again for coming today, and I hope you've drawn something up to me. Thank you very much. That's basically it. Parts of the school are still open. You're welcome to stay. It's about 5 o'clock, but students do need to go home eventually. But thank you.
play tennis football up here. Not any cameras there this time. Smoker's Corner, apparently. Now, this is where we put coins on the track to make them nice, big and flat. I think. Because I think the platform's been extended. So I'll go back in a minute, back to where the end of the platform might have been, and we'll work it out from there. And anyway, this is where I had a fight with, who was it? I can't remember, it might have been Stuart Picton. Yeah. We carried it on from the woodwork lab, and everyone was urging us on to beat each other up. Actually, I think this is the end of the platform, as it was. And this is where we had a fight with Stuart Picton. And unfortunately, the old guards ticket office things have gone. It's a real shame. At this one, when we were waiting for a train that was delayed, I had a game of knuckles with the guard and lost because I was about 14. I had a massive big bulge on my hand.